The poet Pablo Neruda was born on July 12, 1904, in Chile as Neftali Ricardo Reyes Bosalto, choosing his pen name after the Czech poet John Neruda. He was known for his erotically charged love poems and political manifestos. One of his famous pieces of work include his poem If You Forget Me, written in 1952. He wrote this poem during a time of his life that was filled with constant hiding from the Chilean government and exile after the Spanish Civil War that took place in 1936 to 1939. Neruda was not only a poet but a politician as well. He had diplomatic posts in Buenos Aires and in Barcelona. He was a member of the Chilean Communist Party, which was eventually banned, shortly after being in exile in fear of being arrested by the Chilean government. In his poem If You Forget Me, he alludes to the grand love he has for Chile. Throughout, there is a sense of an ultimatum being delivered to Chile and their relationship as being his motherland. His entire poem is an extended metaphor declaring his love for Chile. Through his poem, we see his story unfold, gaining insight on how he felt being away from Chile because of exile. He opens his poem by directing his words to a personified Chile, saying, "I want you to know one thing," with a loving yet firm tone, to express his emotions. The imagery that follows in the next stanza is full of memories of Chile, making him long for his return. The crystal moon, the wrinkled body of the log, all remind him of his beloved Chile because everything carries me to you. He compares these memories to little sailboats that sail towards the isles of yours. After expressing his feelings of nostalgia over his Chile, he begins in the third stanza to resolve his feelings. Should it be the case that Chile will not want him to return, then fine, he will not want to return too. Well now, if little by little you stop loving me, I shall stop loving you little by little. Should Chile not want him back, then he will forget all about Chile in return. This is very ironic in comparison to his second stanza, where every little thing around him reminds him of home, making it a challenge to ever stop loving and forgetting his Chile. He declares, "Should he decide to leave me at the shore of the heart where I have roots, remember, my roots will set off to seek another land." As heartbroken as he would be determined to make another place his homeland, establishing his roots there. He gives Chile a warning of what he will do if Chile does not want him back. Instead of Neruda ending his poem there, with an ultimatum, about being forgotten and forgetting, he recognizes that there could be an alternative ending to his story. Beginning with his final stanza, "But if each day, each hour, you feel that you are destined for me, ah, my love, ah, my own, in me all that fire is repeated." Should his Chile want him to return, then so would he. All that matters is that there be a mutual want for the other, so that their fire would remain lit. During this time period in Neruda's life, he needed to be patient and hopeful for the Chilean government to be accepting of his return from exile. My love feeds on your love, beloved, and as long as you live it will be in your arms without leaving mine. He would much rather to continue loving his country Chile for as long as he lives, over ending all ties with his homeland. Thankfully for Neruda, this was the case. In 1952, he was able to return to Chile and continue loving his country. While interpreting Neruda's If You Forget Me can be interpreted as his love for Chile, the most common interpretation is the narrator addressing his lover. The message as in the first interpretation remains relatively the same, that so long as she continues to love him, love will always be returned and continued. In the second stanza, he tells his lover of all the different things around him that remind him about her through his imagery, saying that everything carries me to you. The sights and smells that surround him make him anticipate the next time they are to see each other even more like the lovebirds they are. Beginning in his third stanza, he changes his tone of an endearing one to a threatening one. If little by little you stop loving me, I shall stop loving you little by little, placing a threat to end their relationship. should she no longer feel the same love he feels for him, leaving him alone and broken-hearted. And if it ever became the case that she stops loving him, then she would leave him alone, unbothered, so that he may forget about his love for her. If suddenly you forget me, do not look for me, for I shall already have forgotten you. But as in the last interpretation of the poem, he gives an alternative to this dreary possibility, giving the relationship that second hope to keep it going. If she feels that her love for him is still there within her, then their spark would always exist, where he would feel loved and give her love in response. The narrator wants for his lover to make and show a declaration of love to him, to make him feel safe and at peace that their relationship will continue to exist, especially in his final stanza. In me all that fire is repeated, in me nothing is extinguished or forgotten. My love feeds on your love, beloved, and as long as you live, it will be in your arms without leaving mine. By ending his poem with this expression of love, he provides hope for their romance. During Neruda's time in exile, Matilde Urrutia was his lover, wife, and muse, always having her by his side during this difficult time in his life. Perhaps this poem was written in part as appreciating her for her unending love and support, along with making a statement about always loving his homeland Chile, despite having to be in exile. If You Forget Me is a poem full of love, sadness, but above all, hope.